Hello everybody and welcome back to Operation Logistics, where I just realized we've got this water hex prefab still in here. So let's go ahead and go into here and just remove that. We're not using that anymore. That's a vestige of a previous system. So go ahead and take that on out of there. And then the question becomes, do we actually need as much water as we've got in our default here? We probably don't. This is a lot of water and just small islands. We can of course control that. I'm going to go ahead and take our water level down to 4 from 6. So let's see what we've got here. Does that feel a little better? Yeah, I don't hate that. That's a decent amount of water. Okay, so we've got ourselves our urban sprawl over here, and we've got ourselves our little areas of rural, so that is fantastic. The next thing we probably want to work on is continue work on our generate biomes function for the subhex manager. And we are passing in a seed, so the first thing we probably want to do is set our seed. So random.initState seed. Now we are getting rid of our seed from our hex manager, but we've already generated the map, so that's okay. We just want to be able to generate the same biome every time that we click on the same hex. So we'll do random.initState seed here, so that way we know for a fact that we have our correct seed. And then we need to have ourselves a bit of a discussion on how many biomes we want to have per category. Our categories currently are urban and rural. So we need to figure out what exactly we want. And I'm thinking right now of maybe 5 biomes. So in this, well, just in the normal namespace, let's go ahead and create ourselves a public enum biomes. And this enum will contain all of our biomes. So first we will do urban, and then we will do rural. Okay. Now we could preface this with, like, for example, urban residential or something. I'm not sure I need to do that. Maybe I do. I don't know. However, for rural, let's start there. And let's go with, first let's go with, say, forest. And then farmland. And then we would probably want something along the lines of town. And this would be just a relatively small town, you know, like a few hexes in size. What else do we need? Forest, farmland, town. We could have, say, desert. Did we create a list of these? It seems like I have one somewhere. Where would I have put that? Let's see, we've got ourselves our biome seed here. We've got our hex classification. Water, rural, urban. Okay, and yeah, I think the subhex class I don't think we're using. We can probably get rid of that. And instead of doing a hex classification in subhex visual, we should probably do a biome. So public biomes biome. I'll just call it that. There we go. Classification does not exist in the current context. Right. We'll add biome in addition to classification. Okay. Public biomes biome. Okay. That way we keep it. So, we've got ourselves forest, farmland, town, desert. What other types of rural do we actually want? Well, I mean, mostly we don't care that much about rural areas because population density isn't great there, yeah? So mostly we're going to be kind of focusing on urban areas for our primary logistics. We'll deliver to rural areas, but it's not going to be potentially as fast as delivering to urban areas. So forest, farmland, town, desert. I'm missing something. I had 5 that I wanted to do here. But I can't think of what they are. Let's see. What else do I want? I think we'll move on for now. I may come up with more later. So in the urban section, let's go ahead and have just our standard RCI. Residential, commercial, industrial. Wow. Typing is hard. Okay, beyond residential, commercial, industrial, what else do we want? Well, there's particular places that would probably require much more shipping than others. Like, for example, harbors would, but those would probably be on the sub level. Because that's where actual buildings and roads and things like that would go. So we've got residential, commercial, industrial. Other things that we should consider would potentially be, well, that would probably also be buildings. And we'll need a decent number of those. You know, maybe we should just not have desert, say that we are set, I don't know, in more of a temperate climate, and just have 3 for each to start with. I think that'll be fine. Okay, so the first thing we need to know when we go to our subhex manager is what type of biomes are we generating. So let's go ahead and in our generate biomes, let's pass in another parameter, and we will call this classification. Hang on. I think I typoed something or forgot my name. Hex classification. That's what it is. We're going to do hex classification. And we're also going to pass in int seed. So we need to pass in our classification here, and we'll go ahead and do that. Classification. Okay, so now the hex manager knows what type are we constructing here. And then, should we do this Voronoi as well? I kind of think so, because that's kind of the way these things develop, yeah? So let's go ahead and consider how many seeds do we want. Well, we need at least 1 of each. And I think realistically, we probably want to end up having the ability to control this. So, in the subhex manager, above the list of subhexes, let's go ahead and put in something along the lines of, well, we'll put in a header. So header, and this header will be for biome generation. And then down here, we'll put in a second header, and this header will be simply subhex list. There we go. We'll just differentiate that a little bit. And then for the biome generation, what are we going to need to know? Well, we're going to need a public int number of Voronoi seeds. And then the question is this per biome or overall? I think we're going to go for per biome. Okay, what else are we going to need? Well, we are certainly going to be needing colors. So public color 32. We are going to be using color 32s. And we're going to need a color for each type of biome. So we're going to go with residential color, commercial color, industrial color. And then on a separate line, because I like to try to keep this quasi-clean, we're going to go with public color 32. And this is going to be our rural biomes. So forest, farmland, and town was the one that we went for. And I'll just toss in color at the end, just to keep the naming scheme similar. Okay, so now our subhex manager has access to these. We'll go ahead and set up some basic colors here. For the residential color, let's make that be kind of a bright green. This is kind of reminiscent of city builders in how I'm doing this coloration. We're going to go with a kind of light blue for commercial. I kind of like 128. Yeah, that'll be fine. And then for industrial, we're going to go with, you know, kind of typical orangish color, right around in here. Yeah, that'll be fine. And then for forests, let's just go with a very deep green, right around 64, I think. For farmland, we'll go with kind of a more reddish green. 128, we'll spin the color wheel to be a bit more over here. Yeah. I don't hate that. That'll be farmland for now. And then towns will go with kind of a greenish gray, I think. So about 128, nope, not 1258. About 128, but we'll also desaturate it a bit and move it over kind of this direction. Maybe a bit more desaturated and a bit deeper. That'll be fine for now. Okay, so we have our colors now set up. And so now we need to go ahead and assign them. So let's consider here. We need to clear all of our biome settings previously. So let's go ahead and add one more biome up here. None. This will allow us to say there hasn't been a biome assigned here yet. So let's go ahead and iterate through and clear out our biomes. Actually, I'm going to create a function for this. Public void clear biomes. Just so that we can do this relatively easily. Okay, so with this biome, with this clear biome, we don't need to pass anything to it. For int I equals 0, I is less than subhexes dot count, and then I++. And then inside of here, all we have to do is say hang on, this needs to be a semicolon, not a comma. What programming language is this? Python? Come on. Subhexes dot biome, hang on, subhexes I dot biome equals biomes dot none. Okay, so that will clear out all of the biomes, and now we can assume, once we actually call this clear biomes, we can assume that our biomes are cleared. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to have a bit of a list of biomes. Well, we don't really need to do that, but we're going to need to do slightly different things based on whether we're in urban or rural. However, if classification equals hex classification dot water, or classification equals, for whatever reason, hex classification dot default, then we should probably just go ahead and return. We don't need to do anything whatsoever if we are a water or a default classification. There's absolutely nothing needing to be done. However, if classification equals, we'll go with rural first, then we need to do something. What do we need to do? Well, we need to go ahead and set up ourselves some biomes. So for number of Voronoi seeds per biome, we're going to have to go ahead and create ourselves a new int. And we will go for int, I guess we'll go for number, equals number of Voronoi seeds per biome. Okay, so we're going to need to do this several times, because we did it on a per biome level. I don't like that. I think we're going to take this off of per biome, and we're going to just leave it at number of Voronoi seeds. And then we will say, while number is greater than 0. There we go. So then our number will count down, and then down here will just be like number minus minus. So that way we know we're not going to get stuck. And then we're going to need to iterate through and find our nearest neighbor and all that fun stuff. But for right now, let's go ahead and set ourselves our Voronoi seeds. So let's go for, we can just choose a random number. We don't have to do an XY search or anything. So we can just say int choice equals random.range from 0 to, and it is exclusive for integers, so from 0 to, we want to do subhexes.count. Okay, I don't think we need to do -1 because this is exclusive. Yeah, that should be correct. So the next thing we need to do is determine if choice dot, hang on, if subhexes hexes choice dot biome, no, lowercase s, there you go. If subhexes choice dot biome equals biomes dot none, or actually we should go with is not equal to. So if it's not set to no biome, we can assume at this point, because we've just cleared it, we can assume that it is set up to be only a we can assume that it's set up to be a Voronoi seed. Wow, that was a little awkward, but I got it out in the end. Okay, so if subhexes choice.biome is not equal to biomes.none, then we know that this has been set as a Voronoi seed previously, so we can just continue. And that continue, if we select this, will just go to the next while loop, and it'll choose another random subhex. Okay, so if we get past that, then we can assume that it's not already a Voronoi seed, and we can assign it to be one. So the next thing we need to do is something along the lines of int biome equals, and we will go for random.range between 0 and... How do I want to do this? How do I want to do this? I know how I want to do this. We need to change this a little bit. So let's go back into our hex manager here. Or rather, into our subhex manager. Let's go back up to our biomes enum. No, we can't do it that way. Never mind. I changed my mind. We'll have to change this manually if we add any biomes back in. So let's put a comment up here. Remember to change generation if we put in more biomes, because I'm lazy and hard-coded. There we go. Okay. So we'll go between 0 and 3, and it will go between 0, 1, and 2. So we'll have those 3 options. Because we have 3 biomes per, that will be fine. So we're going to need to then run a switch statement, and we're going to switch biome, and we're going to say case 0, break, case 1, break, case 2, break. Okay, so right now, this switch statement won't do anything, obviously. However, if biome equals 0, then it will execute this code. If it equals 1, it will execute this code. If it equals 2, it will execute this code. So let's go ahead and say if it's 0, then subhexes choice dot biome. We need to set this to be biomes dot, and let's go with, let's scroll up here and see. Let's go with forest. Biomes dot forest. Okay. The other thing we should probably do, now that we've set that up, is we should probably set this, we should set the color at this time. So, well, actually we don't have to. We can do that as we iterate through. Yeah, that'll be fine. So let's just copy this and put this here, and instead of forest, we're going to go with farmland, and town. Okay. This, however, is only if we are rural, as you can see here. So, we need to do the same thing on the other side of this bracket, else if And we want to go with, what, classification? Yeah, if classification equals hex classification.urban, I'm just going to copy and paste this whole thing in here. We could set this up as different functions or whatever. I don't like having it this way. It's a little bit fiddly, but it is what it is. So if hex classification equals classification.urban, we want to do almost exactly the same thing, but the 3 biomes we want to generate instead should be residential, commercial, and industrial. Okay, there we go. Excellent. So with that in mind, our biomes are now being set up a bit. However, all we're doing here is setting up our actual, we're setting up our seeds. So we need to iterate through the entire list at this point. So let's say for int I equals 0, we might need a new, actually we'll just use I. We don't need to declare it again. For I equals 0, or do we? It's not liking that. What, oh, assigned, but its value is never used. Right. For int I equals 0, I is less than subhexes.count I++. Okay, so we need to iterate through the entire subhex list at this point, and the very last thing that we will do here is what we're going to put in first. So let's go ahead and say, let's see here. How do I want to do this? We need to do a switch statement, and we need to do subhexes I.biome, and then we will say case biomes.commercial break case biomes.farmland break case biomes.forest break case biomes biomes.industrial break. Apparently Brecca works too. Okay, and now case, oh, I forgot my semicolon. No wonder it wasn't working. There we go. Case biomes.residential break case biomes.town break case biomes, hang on, case biomes.none, and then we're just going to do a fall through here, case biomes.default, or actually just default break. Okay, so none will fall through to here, theoretically, if I'm understanding that correctly. Actually, we can just remove the case biomes.none and just have it default if it doesn't hit any of these. Okay, so we can go ahead and go to, at this point, subhexes I.setOverlayColor, and our overlay color is going to be color32 dot, actually we can just do color.black. So if it's pure black, then we know we have a problem. You know what? Instead of black, let's do the standard "there's a problem" and go for magenta. There we go. That'll be nice and bright. So if we run this right now, we should have a lot of magenta hexes, and then a few just uncolored hexes. Let's see. Okay, that's a whole lot of magenta hexes. Are we not actually calling the generate map? Oh, I know what the problem is. We have not actually set the number of Voronoi seeds in the subhex manager. Okay, let's say that there are, I don't know, 8 Voronoi seeds. And then let's run this. And now we have some magenta hexes, and we also have some colored hexes as well. Those are Voronoi seeds. We are not yet coloring them, so we don't know what they are technically. But let's come on down into the subhex manager and just get these colored. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste all of these. So we are going to be magenta at first, but let's change that immediately to be commercial color. And then right here, farmland color. forest color. And we'll go for industrial color. Residential color. Town color. And then default will remain color.magenta. So now it will go through and it will color all of the seeds correctly. So we'll be able to see, for example, down here in this rural area, we're able to see forest over here. This down here is, I believe, farmland. And then these are little towns. So yeah, that's going pretty well. It is time to put a cut in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, we will finish our Voronoi generation here and get ourselves some biomes and make sure... Actually, we can do that right now. We can make sure that our seed system is working so that we always have the same one. So if we go, for example, here, we can see we've got our 2 towns up here. And then if we go here, we can see we've got our 5 towns in that pattern. And then we go up here, and we've got our 2 towns again. So our seed system is indeed working. It is giving us the same biome generation every time we go in. That is fantastic, and is exactly what I was looking for. Okay, so it is time to put a cut in here, so let's go ahead and do that, and next episode we will finish generating the biomes. See you all then.